Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Oh, friends, it's so good to see you again on our 1950s Fun Chat. This will be a very interesting Fun Chat for you to watch because not only do we have one guest, we have two guests, but they have something in common, especially that was very popular in the 1950s. And we thought that you would enjoy hearing both of their stories. Jackie, where can we go from here?
Okay, well, folks, please do check the bottom. www.wildthewindmillwatch.com is where you'll find all sorts of information. Excuse me, information about our book, about the Fun Chat, about the authors, Janine and Jackie, and where the vendors of where one can find the book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s. So do check it out. It's a pretty good read. Okay, excuse me while I cough here. Let us begin by asking this question. Did any of you viewers play the child's game which began with the words, button, button, who's got the button? This game emerged in the 1800s, at a time when buttons were really readily available as household items. So Marsha Miller and Molly Ethridge will have the answer to that question. Marsha is a native Iowan raised in Ottumwa in southeast Iowa. In 1957, she graduated from high school and then graduated from St. Luke's Methodist School of Nursing in Cedar Rapids in 1960. Currently, she belongs to the Iowa Archaeological Society, the Iowa Kate Shelley or perhaps it's Shelley, I'm sorry, and Sunbonnet Doll Clubs, and volunteers at the Ames Public Library. She's a member of the Iowa Jewish Historical Society Board, plays a 40-year-old bridge group, and attends volleyball and bluegrass events with her coach/musician husband. Marsha and her husband have been married for 65 years and have 4 children and 11 grandchildren. Now, Molly was born in 1942 and grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. As a youth, she enjoyed sewing with her grandmother using her Singer featherweight machine. 4 undergraduate years at Stanford University was a benchmark period. She met both of her husbands. Does that pose a question? Well, anyway, her first 20 years of marriage were in California and then ended with her husband's untimely death. A true miracle happened when a mutual friend reunited Molly and Ed at an earlier Stanford beau. Her 37 marriage to Ed landed them in the Chicago suburbs, 30 years in the North Shore of Lake Michigan, and 7 in Ames at Green Hills Retirement Community. So, Marsha and Molly, we welcome you to this 1950s Fun Chat.
Yes, hello, lady.
We're glad to have you here. So we'll alternate asking questions of both of you. So I will begin by asking Marsha, tell us how your button collection began and why it continues.
I really didn't start out to have a button collection, but I think when my mother passed away, I believe in 1980, I found among her things my current button collection, and it probably came from my grandmother to my mother and then to me. And it's always been in this big old ball jar. And so I assume that she saved her buttons in there, and my mom did. My grandma, like Molly, was the big sewer in the family, and I learned how to sew on her old Singer machine, and I could always make it go backwards much easier than I could make it go forward. But my mom was not a sewer, but she could certainly sew on buttons. So this came down from my grandma to me. And I just, whenever I get buttons or take them off of old clothes or whatever, they go right in my button jar.
That sounds about like what our mom used to do. And I'm sure her button collection came from her mother. And, you know, it's interesting you pointed that out, Marsha, because I never really thought of that as something that was a legacy, piece of a legacy, where special buttons and the container in which you have them.
Definitely. Yeah. It's one of those old ones with the porcelain, the lead. I suppose that maybe lead. I don't know. The lid with the porcelain inside.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So Molly, tell us about how you began your collection and why does it continue?
Well, I believe collections just began in my family when I was a little girl. We all had collections of some kind. My dad collected stamps, and he also had a tackle box. I loved looking in his tackle box at all the weird lures, comical looking things with awful hooks dangling off of them. And Mom collected stamps also. And my grandmother taught me to sew, as Jackie mentioned, sewing on the Singer machine, making doll clothes. And that's when Graham taught me how to sew on buttons. And that just, the sewing continued. It still continues throughout my life. The Singer machine is always up, never gets put away. So it's always plugged in and ready to go whenever I'm in the mood to do something.
What would we have done without the Singer, correct?
That's right.
Singer machine. That's what we learned on too.
Well, there were no plastic parts then. Even the bobbins were steel. You know, the whole thing was metal. It was heavy. Now, I still have it in its little black case with a tag attached to it. So when I croak, my sons are instructed to pass it along to someone in the family who will treasure it. It still works.
Yes, good. So continue with my question then. How did the collection begin and why does it continue?
The collection of buttons began in my adult life. I really can't, well, you know what? It happened at church. We had a huge rummage sale every year. They still do back in Chicago. It's the second largest sale in the country. And I volunteered in the sewing and notions department, the tent. And of course, we got tons of little bags of buttons, and volunteers, of course, got first dibs. We paid a little extra for that privilege. But I ended up coming home with little sacks of special buttons from there. And that's where it all started. And frankly, now I no longer collect. I've got plenty of buttons.
Were those button collections that you found and purchased there, were they on cards or were
some of them were, and some were old. And one volunteer in the tent was a specialist in pearl buttons, and she would sort them all out and make sure all the pearl buttons were separate and pricier. But other buttons were just a huge variety, you know, big coat buttons and teeny tiny. Well, I have some shoe buttons I'll show you later. Just all kinds and just odd numbers, you know, maybe a card of buttons or maybe just one. But I just picked out ones for my projects.
Okay. And you'll tell us about those projects a little later because I will ask about them. Okay. So, Marsha, please show and tell the oldest buttons that you have in your collection.
I will do that, but I just want to put a little point in here about learning how to sew. Besides my grandma, I had 8th grade sewing, and I loved that. And I ended up really learning a lot. And I do remember the discussion about buttons, about, you know, putting them on and what they're used for and that kind of thing, even in 8th grade.
Did your teacher tell you how to select buttons for the garment you were making?
Interestingly, the garment I was making did not have buttons because we were doing the student prints at the moment, and I was a dancer, and I asked her if I could try to make my costume in class, and she said yes. And so I did that, and it was purple dotted Swiss with a gathered thing around here and a big full skirt, but I don't believe it had buttons. I think we used snaps at the time.
There was elastic available then too, wasn't there?
Yeah. Oh yes, I think so. Yeah. Okay. So my oldest buttons, interestingly, are on something. They're not free. But I have, because I think I was the oldest granddaughter, I inherited a lot of stuff from my grandma. And I also loved spending time on the farm. So we were very close. And so I inherited a lot of things, and some of my oldest buttons
Cool.
on this little pair of shoes that belonged to my mother.
Mm.
And they're so cute. They're little, I don't know if you can see them. They're pearly, but they're not white.
Yeah.
And they're put on by something metal, like a stud.
A shank?
Because on a shoe, they'd get a lot more wear. They'd get a lot off and on. And I also have the little thingy that they use to
The
put
button
them
hook,
on.
yes. I have my grandma's button hook.
Yeah, right. And then I have baby clothes, a lot of baby clothes and other types of clothes that were made at the time. And usually they had these teeny tiny little pearl buttons. And interestingly, if you can imagine putting a slip on a little baby girl, a lot of these little clothes had slips that went with them. And the little slips usually buttoned on the shoulders. I assume making it easier to put on, maybe?
Yes. Well, I love the decorative edging around the neck.
Yes. Oh, yes. And the little dress has a collar and little little embroidery on the front.
Mm-hmm.
And little sleeves with the decorative edging as well.
Yes. They're in beautiful condition. Do you store those a certain way, Marsha?
I do. I have some archival tissue paper, and I have them in a box underneath my bed. The best place to put them. Keep the cats from sleeping on them.
Yeah.
Then sometimes they were used in a decorative way, like this little dress, which is also dotted Swiss, has the little buttons in a decorative way. And this was mine. This was my dress. And then I had a bonnet that went with it that was held together in the back with a button.
Yes.
That looks like a pearl button.
Yeah, it is. And
so I would imagine could some of those buttons have been passed down from a generation before your grandma even?
Well, maybe they have a shank. These little ones on the front of this little dress are a shank type. But I have a picture of myself in this little outfit with the
so sweet.
Cute.
And then the next one is older. It was my mother's, and it's a little older, and I'm not sure whether it was a slip or just a little summer dress, but the shoulders are completely held together by this little row of buttons. Can you see them?
We can.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the tiny little buttonholes, and that's each shoulder. Like,
so
it might have been a little summer dress because it has a decorative bottom as well. So when my mother passed away, we found all of these lovely things, and at the time I had little girls, and so we had a style show with all these.
Cool.
Yes. Well, the beauty is in that you have preserved them. They're gorgeous.
Oh yeah, that my grandma did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know in terms of I thought maybe this may be the oldest button. It looks like it's made of ivory, and it's got some carving on it, and I have no idea where it was in the collection, so I don't know where it came from. But it seems to be old.
Looks like a little piece of ravioli.
Yeah,
it does.
And it too is a shank. It's a shank.
Okay. Yeah, it could have been that plasticine too, depending upon when it was.
I don't know if it's plastic. I don't know when plastic came into being.
How can you tell if it's a genuine pearl button? Do you know, Molly or Marsha?
I do not. I just know the ones. I have a lot that we'll go on to maybe the next question.
Okay. Okay. I'll wait.
Yeah.
So, okay, Molly, your turn. Let's show us your oldest one, please.
The oldest, I believe, is these. These are shoe buttons.
Okay.
From the 1800s.
That'd be pretty old.
And they were
cool.
This is
yes, I see the one that was on those little shoes that I had. Down to the bottom. Yeah.
I wonder if that was a standardized little shoe button.
With pipe cleaners in the back.
Oh,
Okay. Very clever.
yes.
So that's my oldest. But then I also have this is tooled mother of pearl buttons. That's what it says on it.
Tooled mother of pearl.
From what does it say? 1875 to 1930. The dates on these.
Amazing.
My goodness.
Are they?
They're this darker color, which puzzles me a little bit. But it says mother of pearl.
Right. That's questionable.
How do you spell tool? Is that Tool or Tulle?
Oh, these? Tolled, tooled.
Tool. They were crafted in.
Tool.
You can see the striations in them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But whether they're actually mussel shells, it could be abalone or something else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe they're abalone.
I remember my high school graduation ring. The stone I'd chosen was called a smoked mother of pearl, and it had that grayish look to it.
That's right.
Maybe so. Then these are not that old, but they are
I love the price on the card.
military buttons.
20 cents. Regulation military. Okay.
Yeah, so when your husband's shirt button falls off, you've got a card, replace it.
When you have a 4-hole button, do you think of attaching it a certain way?
There are several ways.
Okay.
You can do an X. You can do 2 bars, parallel bars, or you can do a flower. You just make a stem and it goes up 3 little points.
Okay.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That makes the crafting even craftier.
Yes.
More artistic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Marsha. What different materials were used? You've touched on some of them. Do you have any leather buttons?
Yes. I have a bunch of different types of materials.
Oh, good.
The older ones, of course, the little teeny tiny ones. Ottumwa happens to be in the southeast part of the state. We were very close to the Mississippi River. So I knew all about the button factories in Muscatine, and I'm sure that a lot of the buttons came from there. So I have all the different sizes of the mussel shell buttons, and all the way up to some of them that had remnants of color on the back, so that you knew they came from there, and the bigger ones too. And then I have some interesting ones that are kind of irregular. They're not as well made. Like this one is not supposed to have a hole. It's supposed to be part of the design, but it's so thin on that one side that I wondered at the factory what they did with those that didn't turn out quite as well as they wanted them to. I have some buttons made out of wood.
Yes.
And I have some made out of leather.
Okay. Yes. Well, how do you suppose that leather button was used?
I would assume it was maybe on an outdoor item, some kind of a. But then there are those ones made out of leather that look kind of woven on the top. I don't know if you can see it. And they were, I don't know, probably, I don't know, men, maybe some
men's jackets,
men's things. I do have some metal, quite a few metal ones, and some of them I think are military. They have all kinds of different. And then I have these ones, and I have no idea where they came from, but they're so interesting. They're metal, but they're like buffalo nickel. Let me see if I can get one that's not kind of.
Are these buttons all from your button jar?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're all from the button jar.
So they've got a history.
Right. These have buffalo nickel.
Oh, yes.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Maybe pull it back a little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's there.
Oh, yes.
There.
Oh, it's from a nickel.
Yeah. And then some of these really old ones, I think, it occurs to me that I've seen these on long underwear.
Oh, yes.
Ooh. And how was it? How would they have been used on long underwear?
I think down the front and then at the back where you had to take down the flap.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
But why they have such big holes, I'm not sure. Maybe you needed to, I don't know.
Well, you
But I
had,
have,
Because you're in a hurry.
I guess so.
if you had to rebutton your back flap, man, you had to know how to do that
Would it have
creatively.
helped to have bigger holes and to sew them on with? I don't know. They're so funny. But I remember distinctly seeing those on long underwear.
Yeah, I do too.
And then my final one, different, is it's actually clay. It's like ceramic.
Is that a little bear?
It's a little, a cat or a bear or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Ah.
Sweet. Wow, you certainly have a variety, Marsha.
I do.
Oh,
I do. And then there are some covered. There's a covered button, which
Sure.
people
yeah.
used on different fabric.
yeah.
Why do you suppose people would use a covered button rather than one that was made out of another material?
Oh, maybe it was more stylish. Maybe you wanted, it was a dressier
Okay.
something.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. This is kind of a heavy weave fabric, like a jacket or something.
Did you ever cover any buttons?
No, I have no idea. And this one has metal. It's tucked under,
Right.
and then the metal piece is wedged in, I guess.
Yeah. I think I did that during 4-H. Did you, Janine?
I did, and it was, especially if you had a loosely woven fabric, you
Yeah.
have to put a lining behind it so that the shine
Oh, yeah, I forgot
wouldn't go
that.
through.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and then you'd have to gather up that circle of fabric and
Yeah. Right.
push it in there.
And then there's a couple
When I
of,
made that pink coat, I used covered buttons. And then you had bound buttonholes.
there are
too.
some
Another story.
combination of
Beautiful.
materials, like either plastic or metal with
Mhm.
the pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last really cute, the newest are the plastic. And I have
Oh, yeah.
little ladybug plastic ones.
Yeah.
And do you have quite a few of those?
Oh, I do. I have a whole little, enough to do something with if I wanted to.
Doesn't it just make you want to sew something
It
for a
does.
little child?
Yes, except that they're, I love to sew with the machine. I'm not so big with hand stuff. So of course buttons are hand stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, Molly, show us what you have, please.
Well, I'm just looking at these covered buttons, and those things obviously do not go through the wash.
No.
So
Oh,
you have
right.
to
Yeah.
take them off, and then you have to put them back on.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh.
Kind of.
Or
We're
wait,
just not
send them
into
to the
that.
dry. Send them to the dry cleaner.
Yeah, make them do it.
Molly,
They're labor intensive.
I found a couple more things of old buttons.
Uh-huh.
These are pearl,
Oh,
oh,
yes.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
and they're shaped. They've got edging on them, so they're very fun.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting, that top button, because it's really a smooth edge, and then the design looks like it was either carved or punched into it.
Yes, I have no idea how they did that.
Uh-huh.
But
Well,
some little
one of
muscle
the-
gave his life for that.
Yeah. It's
One of the ones that
And
I
these are
showed that
Bakelite. These
was,
are Bakelite buttons
Oh, Bakelite. Yes.
in the
Okay.
1920s.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always fun, interesting colors.
Yeah.
And,
oh, yeah.
And design.
this is just an early kind of plastic, Bakelite.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
It's still around, it's very collectible. Well, when you said show different materials, I thought you meant things you use to put on buttons.
yes, definitely.
Oh,
These are materials, tools that you have to have.
All right.
It's backwards on my screen. Is it backwards to you?
No.
No,
No.
Good.
it's fine.
Okay, well,
Well
you
done.
obviously need scissors,
Yeah.
but these are ways to attach buttons.
Uh-huh.
Now, I use pipe cleaners a lot on
Hmm.
shank buttons. You can use wire if it's just a long string of buttons that you're attaching, or
Mhm.
covered wire, which is the green one. What else am I missing?
You talked about how you need to remove covered buttons, and if you laundered a garment, how would you have attached the button to that garment?
I guess with a shank on the back or a cotter pin, you know, these
Right.
Okay.
things, this cotter pin.
Mm-hmm.
I
That
use cotters.
Yeah. But it's still kind of a nuisance. Yeah, we did that
Yeah.
in Girl Scouts. I don't know why. It was part of a badge or something.
And so, okay, so that is a good tangent from materials. You know, both of you offered us some materials. So, okay, so Marsha,
Yeah.
you have a story, I understand, about
other
types of flat fasteners.
Yeah. Yes. When I was in nursing school in the 60s, in the 50s, actually, I graduated in 1960. I was very lucky because at my school, this was our uniform,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a picture of how we looked in it.
Yes.
What happened was that at my school, I was so lucky because instead of having the blue striped dress with a pinafore over it, and in many places, the collar, the cuffs, and the two sections of the pinafore were all separate.
Hmm.
And you had to put them together to get dressed.
Yeah.
And in my school, there were snaps from the collar to the sleeve and all the way down. Not clear to the hem, but all the way down far enough so that you could get into it, open it up. And so our uniform was all one piece, and we were so lucky. But we had to spend 3 months at Independence for our psych training, and we had partners from other schools. And we had a day where we had to trade uniforms.
And you were all the same size?
And we tried,
No.
you know, we were good enough probably that
Good
we
enough.
could do it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so my partner was from Methodist in Des Moines, and hers was one of those that had all the different parts. And so even the sleeves came off, the cuff came off of the sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they were held on by buttons that had two sides, you know, like cufflink type buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it was quite an ordeal to get dressed in the morning for that person and for me the day that I had to use her uniform.
Sure.
But I just thought the cufflink type thing was kind of interesting that, and I found in my baby stuff, I found a little outfit that also used buttons in that way.
Sure.
Instead of having buttons at the side where you fastened it, it had 2 button holes.
Yeah.
So apparently a mother had to have buttons that, you know, were fastened together by some kind of I fastened these together with thread, but that was interesting to have a little child's thing that had buttonholes at the sides rather than a regular fastener.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this was before the era of Velcro, definitely.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Probably before many zippers were in use as closure items.
Mm-hmm.
Buttons became a staple item if you were sewing, and especially for sewing a garment that needed a closure.
Yeah.
So, Molly, tell us about how a button collection morphed into creating works of art.
Well, it's like other collections I've had, like stamp collecting morphed into designing greeting cards with altered postage stamps. And I did quite a bit of that. In fact, I had an exhibit here at Green Hills. And same with buttons. I had started attaching them to vintage postcards and other types of images. And that morphed into what you see behind me. There's several cards that I have bought at souvenir shops or like the Norman Rockwell. I think this was a calendar, Norman Rockwell images. And I love this Jackson Pollock one. Can you see it up there? Or maybe not.
Not very well.
Well, I'll have it at the Fun Chat presentation. But
Okay.
These cards you can buy in museums. Museum shops are great, art museums, because they have images of all their art collections. And those postcards make great backgrounds for sewing on buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And also traveling, pictures that you get in motels and whatnot, they always have a picture of the front of their motel, which is very boring. But you can attach buttons to it, and it makes it fun. And the same with airports. They always have a picture of a plane in front of the airport, or hotels where you've stayed. And or restaurants have very boring pictures of empty dining rooms, you know.
Yeah.
So you can sew buttons on it, and it makes it silly and fun. Like, well, that's a motel. Picture the Washington Monument, which you see everywhere in Washington, D.C. You know, some postcard of that. But, you know, I've just added some pearl buttons to it, and with a button on top of the monument. You know, this is just a restaurant, bar stools here with a fish restaurant. But you put some buttons on the bar stools, and it makes it a little more interesting or comical, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those that you can show us a little more up?
Yeah, I'll show you. I've got, this is Rene Magritte. He was a surrealist painter, kind of a friend of Salvador Dali. And I have these, it's a picture of him, but these are, I think they're poppies, but they're plastic buttons.
Right.
But they just seem to go with him. He was just being comical there in that picture.
Yeah.
And then in Minneapolis is the home to the early flower companies, Gold Medal Flower and Pillsbury. And I bought a book of their postcards companies. And I happen to have these Dutch China buttons.
Wow.
Like Delft's China, you know, the blue.
Right.
But it just seemed to just go with these cards, and that was fun. And this one is Gold Medal Flower.
Yeah.
With just some picturesque buttons, you know.
Well, it fills up that space that, like you say, is kind of boring. It makes the card look more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you were supposed to write a message to somebody.
Oh, yes.
Say, you know, please bake some cookies with our flour or something. And this is another Pillsbury flower. But these are all from Minneapolis.
Cool. Look at those gloves.
But I love these hands.
Buttons, Molly.
Yeah, the hands and the foot, Blackfoot.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from. Probably the rummage sale.
Do you send those to people, or do you just keep them for yourself?
Well, that's one thing. When I do send them, like this card, I would attach it first to a larger piece of paper that's folded, stock paper, to make a card, an actual greeting card that I can write a message. And then these cards, obviously, you would mail it in a padded envelope, which costs a little bit more in the post office to mail them that way, but it's sure cheaper than Hallmark cards. Really, some of these commercial
cards, $8 or more,
$6 or $7,
$10 for a card.
Have you seen any other greeting card or postcard decorated like you've done with buttons?
No, not really.
It's very, very creative.
Well,
and then
I think people are a little leery about anything that's got a dimension to it. They think, oh, I could never put this in the mail, but you can just get an envelope.
All right.
And I think you purchase, other than purchasing buttons at the church rummage sale, do you, when you travel, do you pick up buttons?
No, not really. I pick up images more than buttons.
Oh, okay.
I've got plenty of buttons. I'm kind of awash in buttons. And one thing I did, now in New York, in the fashion district, they have shops that are just dedicated to ribbon, or shops that's only buttons. and they're drawers and drawers, like the card catalog in a library.
Yeah, yeah.
Drawers of buttons from all over the world. And you can just buy one button. You don't have to buy a whole card. Like the old hardware stores, with the bins of nails and screws, and you could just buy one nail if that's all you needed.
How fun.
It's the same with these button shops.
Have you been there? So when you were have you been in a button store?
Well, in New York, I was going to show these. And these are where you just buy one. These are very special buttons.
Beautiful.
Did you feel like a kid in a candy store with
Yes.
What? Too many choices.
And all these designers are coming into the button shops and the ribbon shops in New York City, and they're running in and, Emilio needs one more of this, and just going nuts. But I have this funny old calendar.
Can you hold it up a little more, please? There we go. Thank you.
There we go. March.
It was fun to decorate it with. I've got some more here. And see, this was a calendar, and that, again, it's just something you might have, and it's fun to just put very special buttons on it.
Yeah.
All in one color. Yeah.
So interesting.
And it's interesting too that in some cards you have the same button, and other cards you use a variety.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fun.
Oh yeah.
Covered.
Now these are I think they're some kind of a plastic. They've been punched.
They do look
stamped, or maybe they're.
It looks covered.
Ceramic. They might be ceramic of some sort.
Are you selling any of your beautiful pieces?
I have. Since we've lived here, I have not done any marketing. Moving when you're old takes a lot of energy. So I don't know if I'm going to do that again. But I did do a book. Do you want me to talk about that?
Oh, sure. As long as you've got
called Button. And I'm glad you explained about the game that we used to play as little kids at birthday parties. Button.
Well, I did mention it, but I didn't explain it. But go ahead and explain it. I only mentioned it.
Well, it was just little boys wouldn't play this game.
No.
But little girls would sit in a circle, and then one person had a button in her hands like this.
Yes.
And then she'd go through, and each person in the circle, and she'd dip her hand into each person's cupped hand and drop the button into somebody's hand. And then everyone in the circle would have to guess, button, who's got the button.
And didn't you feel so much excitement when she came around you, hoping that you'd get that button?
Yes. But then if you're the one that had the button, you try not to make a funny face.
Yeah.
Right.
Very quiet.
I think we played that game in the 50s in Bible school.
Well, I remember playing it at 4-H before a 4-H meeting at Goring's house, sitting on the bed.
Oh, yeah. This have been in the 50s?
I'd say 40s.
Yeah, it was in the 50s.
Well,
birthday
we were in 4-H in the 50s, but late 50s.
It's a multi-generational game, really.
Yes, it is.
I think I played it in the 40s because it was a younger children's game. So I think I played it in the 40s.
Sure.
Well, it came about in the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
History research.
Well, everybody became very quiet.
Probably played it too.
Well, anyway,
what did you say, Molly?
A book I put together.
Okay.
Oh, there's the camera up there. Button.
Yeah, there you go.
There, that's better. And I, on my computer, I created the pages in a book layout program called.
Can you hold it up a little bit higher? There. Thank you.
There.
Oh, that's sharp. Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I laid out several pages of this, and then in the back, I showed you the page of ways to fasten the buttons. And then I also had a list, this is of all the images, so anything that's
an index.
Is your book still in print?
It's a one-off. I just ordered as many as I needed for my friends and family. So you can order just one, or you can order 10.
That needs to be in several museums, though, and libraries.
It does.
According to me.
It's very neat. Yeah, I think
I
so.
can investigate that. I wasn't into the big marketing business in Amazon. You can get an Amazon number on it.
Yeah, but then you'd also might want to check with what's his name, Janine, at the Button Museum.
Oh, Dustin Joy at the National Pearl Button Museum.
Pearl Button guy.
I bet he would love to have that, Molly.
Well, I'll check with him, actually. That would be fun.
Just open the door and say, I've got something for you. You need it here.
But see, even something.
Oh, bingo, too.
Bingo. Bingo.
And did you find those buttons, or did you have to make?
The bingo tokens? No, yes. I drilled holes in those.
Those are cute.
With my little Dremel drill.
Okay. Every woman needs one.
Yes, you do.
So, anything else on that topic, Molly?
What's the topic?
Well, whatever you want to bring up.
There was another. I guess you can't see. I'll take this off now. This is another one that involved drilling holes. Do you remember your kids' simplex puzzles?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A little knob on them.
A little knob on them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I drilled holes in that to make a button.
And the dice.
The dice.
And dice,
thing.
right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you can make a button out of just about anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Marsha, this is kind of a tangent away from buttons, but would you explain about the Sunbonnet Doll Club and what is that all about?
Well, I will, but first in this, since we're talking about what you do with buttons, I have another couple of things.
Yes,
I'm not the artist that Molly is, but through the years, I made a lot of stuff for my children. I made Care Bears, and of course, Care Bears, and then I made, when fleece was first coming out, I loved it because they had the different, like zebra, leopard, they had the different prints. And I made for Hanukkah, I made bear rugs for all my kids. And I cut out the bear shape, and then I stuffed the heads. And one time when I had to go buy buttons, that was it. I had to go buy big black buttons for the eyes on the sides of the bear heads. And then I also bought a piece of plastic to make the nose. That was really fun. The kids enjoyed those. So anyway, you talk about making doll clothes, Molly. You didn't have any girls, did you?
No.
I did make through the years many, many doll clothes. I never did Barbie stuff because it was so tedious and tiny. I had a neighbor that did that, so I just bought them from her. But I made a lot of doll clothes because I'm a doll collector, and my mom was a doll collector. And so I have like 18 dolls from my childhood of my own.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of dolls.
I think there'll be another topic here.
Yeah, but I love making the clothes. I love making
I know.
For my children, I made Cabbage Patch and American Girl clothes.
Yeah.
And I thought at one time my mother, I think she didn't know about doll clubs. She would have loved that. But I saw an article in the paper a few years ago that said they were the doll club, the Kate Shelley. I don't know. There's no C in it, but does anybody here know about Kate Shelley?
In Boone?
No.
Yes.
The Kate Shelley Bridge?
Yes.
I just know the story.
Kate Shelley is a very historic figure in central Iowa. She, as a young girl, ran out in a storm when that high bridge in Boone went down, and she stopped the train.
Oh.
And she saved all the people on that train. And so that's a very popular story in central Iowa. Anyway, our doll club is called the Kate Shelley Doll Club, one of them. Well, the Kate Shelley Doll Club was taking a bus to Kansas City to the opening of the United Federation of Doll Clubs central office. They were having a big opening in Kansas City. So I had no idea that there were doll clubs. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've got all these dolls. I've got to join this thing. So I did. And I went to this opening and it was spectacular. They had Madame Alexander was there with her big hats and all of that. They had champagne. It's really quite a place. And they do have a museum. They have a library for research. It's the center of the United Federation of Doll Clubs. So now I do belong to 2 doll clubs, and they're in central Iowa. And we just have such a good time. We meet monthly, both of them. And we just give programs with our dolls, and we have food, and we just have a good time. So if anybody is ever interested, there are doll club existing, and we welcome any new members. We love that.
How about taking Mandy to Chicago?
Oh, yes. During the times of the American Girls, they used to have in Chicago and big cities, they have an American Girls big store where you go and you take your grandchildren, or you don't need to, but you can. You can go by yourself. But they have a lunchroom, and they have seats attached to the table so that little girls bring their dolls. And then and they have all kinds. They have a beauty shop where you can get your doll's hair done. It's just really fun. And I did take my granddaughter to Chicago to that. We went downtown on the train, and there was actually another grandma on the same train with her granddaughter.
Marsha, is that still?
Yeah, we all brought our dolls along. It was really fun.
Marsha, is that still up? Is it still operating?
Yes, I believe so, in bigger cities. Yeah. But Des Moines at that time, my granddaughter's now the mother of 2 little boys, unfortunately. But we would go to Des Moines every year, and they would have a style show and a tea with your American Girl dolls.
Oh my gosh.
It was at the Marriott. It was really, it was at the Marriott. We had a great time.
We have 2 American Girls in our house, just waiting for.
Yes. Well, that's what my granddaughter asked me to keep hers, when she was in college. And I said, sure, hoping that she'd have a little girl. Well, so far she has 2 little boys.
Well,
who might want to date this American Girl?
Yes, they might. Right.
I don't know. Or she might have a girl yet. You don't know.
She might. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, Molly and Marsha, this has been so much fun to learn how we can take a utilitarian button and use it for utilitarian purposes in fun ways, but then go beyond that into the creative aspect and decorate paper, you might say, and go beyond that and make it not only a thing of beauty on a garment, but also on a collection of cards and postcards, greeting cards. It's just fun to have learned your stories. We are so grateful that you joined us today for this 1950s Fun Chat. Thank you so much.
We are.
Thank you.
Been fun. So much. And folks out there, thank you so much for viewing. We hope you found this a very delightful program, as we did. Please tell your friends, even your relatives, about this 1950s Fun Chat. So until next time, toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank